All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. We have another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report, this time for August 17th, 2022. This is your midweek edition of this report, and we are going to take a look at nothing but errors and varieties. Coins that traditionally have been discovered going through pocket change. Coin roll hunting is another big exercise that a lot of people like to do. But in addition, there are quite a few coins on here that were cherry-picked from local coin shops and shows. You're going to find that most dealers, they really don't care about the minor stuff, so this is where you come in. You come in, swoop in, you identify a variety or an error that otherwise was overlooked by a dealer, and then go ahead and add something really nice to your collection or resell it. Reselling seems to be kind of a big deal these days as people are looking to find a supplemental income. And I could honestly say that a lot of people are taking advantage of such a burgeoning market right now. You're going to want to know that a lot of new errors have been found on coins just in the last 5 years. We have a number of them represented in this report today that you definitely need to know about. You did hear me say that all the coins are raw. So what exactly does that mean? It means they're not graded. Graded generally adds a unneeded extra expense to the sale of a coin. Oftentimes PCGS will charge like $60, $65 just to attribute an error coin. So what if you sent like say a $25 or $50 coin there? Do you think that's going to enhance the value that much? No, probably not. As a matter of fact, you'll probably end up wasting a lot of money just on the submission fee alone. So we don't talk about any of that. I have a dedicated separate report on some of the more relevant errors and varieties that you should grade, all right? So I usually do that about twice a month, and it seems to be a very popular one. So we have a lot of good ones today that I think you guys will appreciate, and hopefully this video will give you a little inspiration to go out there and do a little hunting of your own, because it doesn't stop. I do this video twice a week due to popular demand. There's just been an absolutely incredible amount of coins being discovered today. There is no shortage. There's plenty to go around. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into the first coin. We have a 1984 Lincoln Memorial cent. I mean, this thing looks a little funny, doesn't it? What we have here is what they call a broad strike error. So the coin was struck without the aid of a collar. The collar keeps the coin in the striking chamber during that particular action. But if the collar isn't present, then the metal flow will continue to go outwards. It's kind of like pressing your thumb into a ball of Play-Doh, all right? All that extra material goes outwards and really distorts the overall regular size of that particular coin. This one right here, pretty neat, albeit it is a copper-coated zinc, so you do see a lot of that exposed zinc on both sides of the coin. Copper plating is very, very razor thin, so it doesn't take much to fracture this. This particular coin ended up selling for $20.90. Really good sale for something we have here. Now, in stark contrast, we do have another Lincoln cent, but boy, this thing has had a rough life. But really, what really matters is that it has an error on it. All right, you can see it on the reverse, that kind of flipped up edge of metal right there, right about at the 7 o'clock position on the reverse. It's actually a lamination that had peeled over and is still retained right on the coin. But as you can see, the coin has had a rough life. There's plenty of corrosion, and maybe this coin was in the ground at one point, giving it its very pitted look. But still, it's not nothing. Collectors will still pay for something like this. This one ended up selling for $5.10. So, I mean, if someone came up to you and said, I'll buy this off of you for a $5 bill, I mean, I think 99.9% of us would certainly take that trade, no problem. So something to consider. While you're not going to see huge gains profit-wise on a coin like this, they all tend to add up. Now, one of my favorites for this week has got to be this $10 bill. Okay, sure, this is probably something that, is unlikely to be found, going through bills. However, if you're at a coin shop and someone's selling one of these and, maybe they're selling it for a lot less than what the market commands, it might be your opportunity to come in, pick it up, or, to either add to your collection if you're a paper money collector, or just to resell. This is a 1950 $10 Fed Reserve note. It has what we call a gutter fold, which is caused by just a simple wrinkle in the sheet prior to the printing process. So if the paper isn't destroyed and removed from that stack, it'll just get printed over. And same likewise as goes if the wrinkle isn't pressed out during that process. This one right here, very nice sale, ended up at $156.89 with 38 total bids. A lot of activity for this one. Looking at the reverse there, you'll notice that the gutter isn't in place on the reverse. You do see the fold, but it looks like the wrinkle in the sheet was pressed out at one point to allow a full print of what you see here. Coins and cards at again with another huge coin. We have a 1955. Of course, you guys know that this is, a lot of you will say, whoa, yeah, that's the one. Yep, it is indeed the DDO, Double Die Obverse. It's also FS 101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. It's all over publications. It's a very well-known, very famous coin. Even if you're not a collector, a lot of you will probably know exactly what this is. But coins and cards generally sells nothing but raw varieties and errors. And this one right here, no doubt about it, is a beauty. I would say AU condition, so, very solid, problem-free from what I could see. This one right here ended up at $2,300 with 27 bids. I'm sure we'll see more and more inventory coming out of Coins and Cards' eBay store in the near future. All right, we got a pretty neat error here. We talk about these on occasion, and, the likelihood that you'll ever find one of these in a bankroll is probably very, very slim. Your best bet is to look for these in those mid-sewn bags or to cherry pick one at a coin shop or show. But we have undated, we know it's from the 1900s, Lincoln Memorial cent, double struck. The secondary strike is roughly about 75-80% off center. Very attractive coin, and it appears that this particular example is a bronze. So pre-1983 is what we're looking at here. This particular coin sold for $41.97, and that's with 18 bids on there. So back to back here, we have a couple of these 1943 Steelies. So these are zinc-coated steels. There's a lot to look for on these coins. Doesn't matter the condition, they're always very nice for cherry picking. This particular coin right here shows some oxidation somewhere. Fortunately, there's no rust, which is a pretty good thing to see. But yeah, you're going to see a few little die chips and cracks on the reverse. When we come up a little closer, and upon closer examination, you have a crack that goes from the rim, kind of squirrels its way through this wheat stalk and then ends up exiting right up here or exiting down here, however you want to place it. But pretty neat error. They call this a routine cut or a pre-cut. This part will eventually break off at some point, even if it gets to that point. Usually mid-employees spot these things and then they retire the dies and then put a fresh one in there. But this is a precursor to a full-blown cut, which is where the die had actually cracked and fallen out and will be a raised blob area. You'll notice that on the letter T in cent, there's a pretty nice interior die break or a die chip. So that's another neat part or aspect of this coin. This one ended up selling for $22. And from the same seller, there was also this one. This one also sold for $22. But, this one, a little bit more worse for the wear. Not nearly as attractive as the previous coin. Another type of retained cud that we see here. So, yeah, pretty neat. And, well, they also call this a retained die break as well. Again, you have 2 exit points. And you can clearly identify the crack as it goes through whatever devices. And normally there's going to be displacement. When you don't see displacement, it's not really a full-blown retained cud. It's just going to be a crack at that point. But again, another solid $22 sale. And it goes to show you, all right, these coins, they're not in the best of shape, but if you maybe have a hoard of these that you've been sitting on and they're just like, they're indifferent to you. They're just really well worn and circulated. They're kind of like a waste of your time. Take a second look. People generally overlook these retained cuds. They even overlook the small little cuds, especially on the obverse where the base of the Lincoln's bust is. That always seems to be one that a lot of people overlook. But yeah, that's cash money in your pocket right there. Now here's an oldie but goodie, 1995 Lincoln Memorial. I mean, what else is there left to say about one of the neatest double-to-dies that you can find, and very available and still found to this day. There seems to be no shortage of these. Even higher graded examples are still being scooped up in the marketplace. Here's a few close-ups by the seller. I mean, Liberty showing the strongest doubling and the motto, "In God We Trust." There's not much in the way of doubling on the date. So that's kind of like the least spectacular part of it. But everything else is gravy train on this one. This coin ended up selling for a cool $75. It seems to me that these coins continue to kind of like drift upwards in price. Even though the market is pretty well saturated of these. More so in just regular circulated grades, but the higher graded examples are being scooped up today for between $60 and $80. I know back as recently 3 years ago, you could have gotten some of these for around $25 to $30 in nice, brilliant red condition. So glad to see these things are on the move, and they're going to continue to do what they do and be a mainstay in modern variety hunting. Now, on the other flip side to the whole thing, you come across beaters like this one, but still, I mean, you really going to throw this one back? I would say not. This is a 1984 Lincoln Memorial. Check out that large size cud there on the right side of the obverse of the coin, and yeah, it's got that weakness on the reverse. That's what you want to look for. I mean, a piece of the die had fallen out, and this is kind of like that byproduct of a strike that you would expect. This coin right here, again, would you really throw this one back? Yeah, it's ugly, but the ugly ducklings get a lot of play as well. Sold for $91. $91 for this coin. Which kind of bucks the trend of the market, circulated, well-worn, well-loved type coins, even going into some of the more modern dates is really irrelevant these days. It's all about collectability, scarcity. I could honestly say this is a cud that I haven't seen pass through the auction block that much, and that's probably why it sold for so much money. All right, so this is kind of like where my real passion is. Cherry picking some of these older large cents and half cents for some really cool varieties, okay? So at first glance, coin's in pretty decent shape, albeit there is certain areas of corrosion, all right, that's highlighted by the little green specks on both sides of the coin. But this is an 1844 large cent, very, very nice date, not one that you typically come across, but you're not going to pay a fortune for it unless it's a very rare variety. This one right here is the 1844 over 81. All right, so in case you guys are wondering what we're looking at, you have the top curl of the 8 right here under this first 4, and then you have this little flag of a 1 that's poking out right here at the top of the 4. This is a very well-known variety. It's in the Cherry Picker's Guide. It is also in the Red Book, I believe, as a major variety. And yeah, this is one that it gets a lot of attention on the marketplace, and even this one, no doubt about it, even with the corrosion, still managed to squeak out $220 for this coin. Whereas a non-variety 1844 in the same condition probably would be about $30 to $40. So just even attributing an overdate or a recut date or some sort of misplacement of the date, whether it's in the denticles or in any area within the coin, will be quite valuable because people collect these by variety attribution, like Newcomb and Sheldon and Overtons and things like that. Overton, by the way, is for Kappa's halves and Drapa's halves. So, yeah, another really neat coin. If this was cherry-picked from dealer stock, ooh, man, what a huge miss by them, but more of an opportunity for folks like you. So, much like the 43 I was talking about, you know, the smaller the cud, more than likely it's going to be an opportunity to be missed. This is a 1944 Lincoln wheat cent, but do you guys see that little cud die break there? At the bottom of the coin, if you're looking at the obverse or the front. Yeah, that same cud can be found on a 43. But if the coin is really well worn, maybe has a little rust on there, that's something that gets missed all too often. Even I've missed a few of them. So definitely double check and triple check those coins because it's gonna be meaningful, especially if you're looking to make a buck or two reselling these. Those particular coins actually sell for a decent amount. This one right here sold for $39.62 with 10 total bids. Again, the condition, it's not going to wow you, but with all things considering, the error is what's the best part of this coin. Now, this is just a really phenomenal example of a 1995 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel, centered broad strike. Man, this thing's hammered. It looks to be about the size of a standard U.S. quarter, if not maybe a little bit bigger. Sometimes they get a lot bigger than that. But this is just a really nice high-end example. Sold for $65. So there are certain dates that are on the move. These are collected by date. So people are looking for full decade runs or perhaps a whole entire run of the modern era, kind of like post-1965 broad strikes. And it presents a real challenge for those folks. And they're willing to open their wallets for premier examples like this one. And here's one that I don't talk about too often because we don't see them come up too often. But now, maybe you guys need to pay attention to 68D Lincoln Memorial. And the big reason why is that there are a few very nice varieties. There's a well-known doubled die. And there's also a repunched mint mark, much like the one that you see here. So the secondary D is punched west of the primary mint mark. This is also a cherry picker's guide. It's FS501 in there. It's well known in the variety community. And it's one that actually people were finding these left and right up until about a few years ago, where you don't see too many of them come out in the marketplace. I don't know if it's a matter of, you know, I found one, I'm just going to save it because the belief is it's not going to sell for a lot, or something to that effect. I don't know, but here's one right here. It did sell for $5.50 with 3 bids. Condition is just marginal on it, and that's probably a good big reason why it didn't command as much of a premium. Now, always look out for this. The 2-feathered buffalo is simply an abraded die. So when you look at these, if it's missing that 3rd feather, you have a 2-feather. Pretty simple. There's a good number of dates, I would say about 10 of them, within the Buffalo Nickel series. It's probably more or less, I don't know. Just, you know, kind of spitting out a number. But there's quite a few of them. Quite a few dates where you can find a 2-feather. This is a rather low condition coin. And most of them are. Very few of them ever make it to mint-state condition. They're just generally overlooked. But this is a 1918S. Some would say it's a little bit more tougher date to find. This one ended up selling for $17, which is absolutely phenomenal, considering it's a coin that probably you could cherry pick for $2 or $3. Here's another nice off-center struck coin, 1988 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one's off-center. I would say about 60-65%. Very attractive, full date. Very clean, except a few, I guess, stains or carbon spotting, which is normal for these. This one sold for $18, so probably a little bit more tougher date for those date collectors. All right, so this one's going to blow you away. So 1982, Philadelphia minted Roosevelt dimes are supposed to have a physical P mint mark. However, there were a number of these coins that were struck sans the mint mark. So there are 1982 no P Roosevelt dimes. Again, this is in the Cherry Picker's Guide, and it's also in the Red Book, so it's a very well-known coin. But take a look at this one. Straight from circulation. It's got a little bit of road rash, a little damage on there. As you can see on the obverse, that the rim is quite chewed up on this one. So you would say, oh yeah, man, that thing's like, worth maybe a Coca-Cola, right? No, it's still worth saving. This is what they call the strong strike. There's also a weak, which looks to be struck through grease a little bit. If you see it, you'll know what I mean. But this particular coin ended up selling for $60.35 with 5 bids. That's a lot of Coca-Colas. So you can imagine how many you could purchase with that. So well done on the seller finding this thing and saving it right out of change. It ends up paying for about a quarter tank of gas today. Actually, I take that back. Price of gas has gone down. I'm going to go up to about a third of a tank. Here's another good one to look out for. Again, not fancy, but this is a 1998 Lincoln Memorial cent. You're probably asking yourselves, why blue? How'd you know it was 1998? I can't even barely see the date. Well, it struck through grease, and because the seller said so. I figure in hand you can see kind of like a shadowy remnant of the date, and it looks to be a 1998. But yeah, it was struck through a little bit of grease there on the obverse, even going on to Lincoln's profile there. This particular coin sold for $9.95. I would say all day long. Trade it in for a $10 bill. It's worth it every time. All right, another Roosevelt. This time is a 90% silver, so pre-1965. This one is just simply off-center by about 60-65%. Good looking coin, and this one right here sold for $52.65 with 25 bids. You don't normally see prices get up that high, but I think, and I'm kind of like speculating that the toning on the coin might have something to do about it. I've seen these, and I even sold a few myself for right around $25-$30 for a 90% silver. That's with no date, by the way. So, yeah, the toning adds an extra element to the pricing game of these coins. Oh, it's our good old girl, Sally Ride, back again on some brand new 2022 quarters. Now, this coin, of course, well known for the amazing Clash dies, which turns out to be the most valuable error that you can find on this coin. Running right around 20, 25, 30 bucks, given the, the actual strength of the Clash. However, there's a few things going on here. One, I really love. The second thing I kind of loathe, and I'm going to tell you why here in a second. This one has a die chip right here on the nose. I've seen some examples where it's like almost like a ball on there. That's probably the big reason why that this one's on the list. However, people have sold these minus the die chip because of this aberration right here you see in the fields. They call this the ghost horn or something like that. And people are actually successfully selling them for around $5 a piece. Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but if there's a market for it and it's liquid, why not, right? Whatever, right? But that is simply just die flow. Okay, just coincidental die flow, probably having more to do with the actual design of the coin that's making that kind of mystery horn looking thing protrude out there in the fields. And it's very noticeable, especially on mid-state coins. But as they wear, they're going to kind of wear down as well. So this particular coin here sold for $26 with 5 bits, which is quite a surprising one. I think there's a few people that see like a dual error with this, and that's kind of probably the reason why that this one achieved the amount of money it did today. Well, we did see the 95p. How about a 99p centered broad strike? This coin is a beauty, actually, and very scarce. Apparently, this is more scarce than I led it to believe, considering that I thought a lot of dates during the 90s were very readily available with a broad strike. Not a 99. This is not a Lincoln cent. Lincoln cents, they grow on trees, but this one right here sold for $198.50 with 33 bids. A good probably 3 or 4 people badly, desperately needed this coin, and it showed just with all the auction activity. $200 for this thing. I'm just going to say sure. I mean, you know, if it's that scarce, then it's worth whatever market it commands at that given time. All right, our good old boy 1969S Lincoln Memorial is back on the list. Now, in all honesty, I did sell one of these on eBay like a week ago for the same reason that this one's on here, although I didn't command nearly the amount of money that this one sold for. But yeah, take a look at that. Now, it's not a doubled die. This is actually a very extreme machine doubling, which is a type of damage per definition, you know. There was a little bit of a die skip or slide during the strike that actually damages into the devices. So when you see it on the date and the mint mark, you know it's machine doubling. If it's only one or the other, then it's either a double die or possibly a repunched mint mark. But very strong example right here. This one sold for $150, which at first glance seems like a crazy amount of money, but it's not the craziest. Remember that coin that sold like 2 years ago for $1,100? That was the most extreme example of a MD sale that I have personally witnessed in my lifetime. And I don't think I'll be able to ever shake that from my memory. So yeah, the one I sold, by the way, which is nicer than this one condition-wise, sold for $15, you know? And yeah, the seller did say it is machine doubling. So there you go. All right. So did you guys know there was a Sally Ride egg variety? Neither did I. But really, this is just, you know, kind of crazy looking photography and an attempt at some sort of editing. Not by me, but whoever owns the lister of this particular coin. So we got another Sally Ride. This one is actually very interesting. The actual close-ups are not really that distorted, but you're going to see a number of die scrapes from a feeder finger on there. But take a look right here behind Sally's neck, hair, crux area. Yeah, there appears to be some sort of either clash or die gouge, all right, which is pretty amazing. I've never seen that before. So this is, I think, one of the first examples I've seen of this anomaly or anomalies with the feeder finger scrapes. So where are we looking at on this? $20 is what it sold for, but the seller did relist it. Don't know if this one actually sold or if the seller had multiple copies of this coin and they just relisted it using their original auction. But yeah, a neat coin. Don't know if it's gonna stay put at $20, but it's got a little conversation ahead of it, and that's that. All right, this one's on here because I have an affinity for Canadian coins. This one is really cool. 1945 Canada, 5 cents. I believe these are steel composition. But you see that retain cut there on the reverse that goes through Canada and top of the date and top of the V as well. Pretty nice. I don't think I've ever seen one of these before, but I'm glad I did here. Pretty phenomenal. Someone did pick this one up really quickly to the tune of $42.50. Not sure if I would have been a buyer, but yeah, it's worth every penny because I know Canadian errors are very well regarded within its collector base, and people tend to open up their wallets to own, one-offs like this one. All right, well, long live the Wilma Man Thriller. All right, because this week we've seen the release of the brand new Nina Otero coins, the new quarters. Nina Otero-Warren, right? Yeah, I think I got that right. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, they were first discovered last week. So, we do have a couple thrillers to talk about in this video as kind of a send-off, So until we see some pretty crazy price movements on the major error for this coin, which we'll talk about here in a few moments. But there is also this one as well. So what do we have here for this one? I don't know. We got that crazy, silly, drooling die chip slash crack slash interior die breaks and a few chips. Yeah, this one's pretty strong. All right. And this is kind of like one of the more later advancements progression-wise of this anomaly. This one sold for $8, which is a tremendous fall from grace. These things were at $20, $25 as recently as like a week ago. But now $8, $10 seems to be the going rate for these, but they are quite common. I found quite a few of them in my rolls that I went through. So yeah, pretty crazy. Now, we didn't have too many lots. We have a couple of them to kind of wrap up the show this week. We have this 3-coin lot of silver wartime nickels, all with laminations. So the coin images on the left side are the laminations. The coins on the right are the same coins. They're just flipped over to show the backs of them, or the other side of them. But you see they all have some sort of defective planchet thing happening on all three. So the 3-coin lot sold for $24.99. Don't know if there's too much opportunity to buy and flip, but if you're looking to add some pretty interesting pieces to your collection, this is actually not a bad buy. Oh, here's the other one. Man, Wilma, we hardly knew ye. Thank you for giving us so much great memories for 2022. But let's see where these coins end up selling at when the busy coin season happens right around September. I would expect to see some sort of natural price movements based off of interest for this particular error. Now, this is the obverse retained cud that you can see there right on Liberty. But this one also has a little bit of the strike through as well that you see on both sides of the coin. This one does not have the reverse die crack, which is one of the more advanced progressions of the coin that people opt to pay a ton of money on. Again, the high watermark for the coin in its most advanced state is right around $820 as of today. Will we see that price go up here this fall? We'll see. But this one right here, cool little update, sold for $310 with 23 bits. Very strong sale, but I've noticed prices are slipping on this as this is the one that most people are finding in change. So our feature coin of the week is a coin that you can find throughout any date from the last 5-6 years. 2017 P Lincoln Shield Cent has some pretty amazing clash dies. This is a strong one that you guys need to be on the lookout for. Keep in mind, these can be found on every date within the last 5-6 years, and they all sell for big amounts of money. This one right here has the strong clashing that you see. You have unum that goes into Lincoln's bow tie and coat. You see the lines from the shield also in the fields. Yeah, I mean, this one ended up selling for $40, but a lot of them have been selling for like $40, $50, and even as high as $60. Keep in mind, 2022, there's some strong clashing on that particular date as well, and that's a consistent seller for between $30 and $40. Lots of money to be found here. If you find one, you'll probably end up finding a few. So yeah, $40 for this one. Another big one from Coins and Cards. We have an 1891 Carson City Morgan dollar. Now, this is actually a very common VAM variety on this one. It's got the what they call the spitting eagle. You can see a little bit of a kind of like a die gouge that's formed here in the fields, right, perfectly placed, right in front of the eagle's beak area, so it looks like it's spitting. But believe it or not, this is actually more common to find with the spitting eagle than to find an example without it. All right, so something to keep in mind, but it's very popular. It's a top VAM within the series. This particular coin sold for, get this, $502 with 11 bids. The seller did mention that it is a mid-state condition or BU coin, so there is that. The coin is in great shape, by the way, if you didn't see it. But yeah, to find one with the spitting eagle in this condition is quite nice, and it's very much worth the amount of money. Now here's a note that was flagged for a misprint. What we have here is a fold over, so the corner was folded in, kind of like a gutter, and then printed over. But look at that, it's a star note. Star notes are replacement notes to replace things like this. So this one, you can see it has that red crayon wax pencil mark right on the face of the note. That's a rejection mark. Okay, this was actually flagged by a BEP employee as being something to pull out and just keep it out of the packs. It didn't quite make it. It ended up in a pack of other $10 bills when it wasn't supposed to. There's a reverse. You can see a little bit of the fold over area in the printed front design there. This is a really cool note, and oftentimes you just don't see the rejection mark notes make it out into circulation. This one shows very little circulation, by the way. This one sold for $707. Right? You don't need to grade these. How many times do I have to say that? Because it commanded all the money in the world anyways. So, I mean, you could put it in a holder and just keep it in your collection for a really long time. It's going to preserve it. You know, think of grading as preservation. And, you know, it should stay that way. All right, so here's our last lot of the week. We have a lot of 5 Lincoln cents are all off-center. The intriguing one is, of course, the wheat cent there on the top right corner. But all the coins are in great shape. And you do have a couple of copper-coated Zinkins in there. You got that 69D, which is a little bit tougher date. There's a little bit of more information on the reverse. But check that out. A full date on that Lincoln wheat cent, 53. That can't be a common date at all. I haven't seen one of those sold independently, and that kind of would make this a little bit of a screaming deal at $48.90. That one coin right there probably sells for $50 all by itself, if not more, because of the date. People are going to be looking for that one for their date sets of off-center strikes. So really, really nice pickup here. $50 seems like a lot, but you know, given some of the extra amount of research involved, yeah, one coin will recoup the value of this. Here's a neat one here on an earlier Lincoln. So we have a 1917S. Looks to be a little bit of a strike through on both sides of the coin, and could be a little bit of a tapered planchet as well. We do have kind of a weak rim in this area. But general weakness on the right side of the coin. But you do see quite a bit of weakness all throughout the reverse. So a few things going on here. It's anybody's guess if it's just struck through grease or a tapered planchet or a combination of both. Could be. This one right here sold for $29.50. Really good sale, and again, a coin that a lot of people have overlooked, but can be a thing when you're searching through large lots of wheat cents. All right, so this coin's only a year old. I think I've talked about this one once before. 2021 Lincoln Shield cent with a pretty big strike through on the reverse. No, that's not damage. That's actually a gob of grease that was on the die. Probably a field restricted style of placement. But yeah, pretty nice on this one. Here's a little bit of a close-up for you so you can see what it looks like firsthand. The grease is quite dark, kind of on the black side, with some debris mixed in, you know, metal shavings and all sorts of little items, dirt, grime, all that. This one sold for $16.66 with 3 bids. Seems like, you know, there's a lot of room to grow for value-wise for this coin. You just don't see a lot of them. So when one pops up, every 6 months, it's kind of like, oh, that's the first one. And people tend to ignore the first of any sort of discovery. And they usually sell for an underperformed price. But this is just really nice to see this one here. Again, another coin you could add to the list of moderns. And we're going to end up the PCMR on this Eisenhower dollar. Now, on the front, it looks like it's slightly off-center, but on the reverse, it's perfectly centered. So what do we have here? Misaligned dies is the type of error that we have here. So the obverse die was a little bit misaligned during the strike. The edge is kind of touching the tops of Liberty. The back, full rim, just about throughout the whole reverse. Very nice, and considering that errors on larger sized coins like $50, Eisenhowers, Susan B. Anthony's, things like that, are very well collected, and they're worth quite a bit more than all the other coins combined. Lincoln's, Jefferson's, things like that. So, the coin has shown quite a bit of circulation wear. It's not a gemmy by any standards. This one right here sold for a $50 bill. How sweet. A sweet, sweet amount of money. So, pretty good sale. And that's going to go ahead and end it off on this one. So, did that inspire you a little bit? A lot of things to look out for there. We have in total, probably like $7,000 in coins that we talked about out of 33 total listings. Pretty amazing that this stuff is even out there for the taking. But, from between circulation and cherry picking coin shops, wow, you could really make a pretty good living. And this is just barely scratching the surface because there's so much more to look out for out there. So go ahead and do your part and save a coin from certain doom. Could be you, could be me, could be anybody, but at least do it. And love you guys. Hopefully you guys had a good time on this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. Check me out on TikTok at BlueRidgeSilverhound. That's going to go ahead and do it. You guys take care. Have a good one. Happy hunting. And I'll see you on the next coin video. So long.